After more than a decade-long rest, Grave returns from his eternal slumber to kick some ass once again. You assume the role of Brandon Heat, aka Beyond the Grave or just Grave, and your job is simple. Shoot anything that moves and kick as much ass as inhumanly possible. This innovative VR game experience will change your perception of what a VR game should be. But was this the right way to revive an old niche classic, or should it have just stayed buried in a grave? The game has only been released in Japan and Korea, but the developers have been working on localizing it to other languages. When we popped it into the PS4 after a quick update, English subtitles were available. The audio was still in Japanese though, and some parts were missing subtitles. We're pretty sure those small errors will be fixed before the game is officially released outside of Asia. But for those who are eager to play and don't speak Japanese or Korean, using the English subtitles is the way to experience this new Gungrave game. So, let's start off by telling you the good things that will await you in Gungrave VR. What do we mean by innovative VR? Right now, most VR shooters will take the first-person mode route, which requires a lot of free movement. This can cause you to hit things that are in your immediate area, but the developers at Igimob put a lot of thought into designing this game for places with limited space. We were delightfully surprised that we didn't knock anything over or hit someone in the process. We're talking about you, Superhot VR. Some of us here have gotten motion sickness while playing other VR games in the past, so we were expecting the same going into this one too. Igimob used an innovative third-person mode that drastically lowered the chance of getting motion sickness. No one here got sick, thank goodness. It was a fun and unique way to experience VR because it allowed you to see your character, which was super helpful when you had to use your head to aim. Also, you can use the right analog stick to change Grave's direction in small increments, from left to right. This is a crucial factor in later stages when you have to turn around and avoid a boss. It seemed that the developers took that into consideration as well, because enemies rarely pop up behind you directly. The gameplay is generally really smooth, and the controls are very responsive. You're also switched between third-person mode and first-person mode, which keeps the game fresh and interesting. Igimob really tries to deliver a one-of-a-kind experience that pushes the limits of the current VR technology. The game UI is very simple and makes for good usability. It does require the player to explore and move their head around to find everything when they first put on the headset. On the main screen, you can find the menu and other hidden objects. And after figuring out the menu, you're taken through a quick tutorial showing the basic controls. They are pretty simple, but we found out we needed a couple of tries before we got truly comfortable with them. Let's talk about the art and music of Gungrave VR. Fans of the original will be in for a treat. Illustrator Yasuhiro Naito and composer Tsuneo Imahori are back. The original artists return, and they haven't missed a beat. The art design is just how you remember it back on PS2, but now in HD. And Gungrave fans can experience the nostalgia while still appealing to the new generation of gamers. The soundtrack is top-notch and recaptures the essence of what made Gungrave back on the PS2 so great. But sadly, now it's time for the bad stuff. It does turn up the nostalgia level to 11 and stays true to the original PS2 game with the same gritty and over-the-top Japanese street-style anime style. Unfortunately, the game looks a little outdated. The graphics feel more like a game from the PS3 than the PS4. Don't take us wrong, this doesn't take away from the VR experience. But it's a little disappointing because we felt that this was a missed opportunity to elevate an old franchise with today's level of graphics. In certain stages, such as the blimp stage, the lack of graphic quality is defiantly felt. It left us feeling without a sense of direction and we were clueless on how to beat the stage. We also noticed some issues during combat, especially when fighting bosses. When we tried using Grave's melee attack but were too late, we would get knocked down. The melee attack wouldn't work, but instead upon getting back up, it would be triggered. This then would give the boss a chance to knock us back down again. It was maddening! Also, in boss fights, the quick turnaround option in the third-person mode was greatly missed. This gave the boss an advantage at times. And speaking of advantages, the bosses seem to have way too much HP, while only a handful of health packs would show up to help us regenerate ours. We felt like in its current state the game seemed a bit short on stages and compensated by beefing up the bosses with a lot of HP to help extend the game. Without reaching SS rank on every stage, we were able to do it in about 3 hours. In contrast, the tutorial could have been a bit longer, and some better descriptions of how to use the special moves would have been nice. Right now, there aren't many features other than the story mode, but it seems there will be a DLC soon. We saw a message about it after we beat the game. Also, if you're hoping to customize your controls, you can't. Currently, you can't change the controller layout. The game is a great attempt on how to get the most out of the PlayStation VR system. Players with limited space can now experience VR games by allowing them to use the PS4 DualShock controller. No more swinging around arms and hitting walls. Also, the 3D sound makes for a fantastic experience that is both fun and immersive. It makes you feel like you're in a real gunfight. We wished the price tag was a little lower and the game's length were a little longer. Also, it felt like we didn't have a connection with the characters, and there wasn't a real reason to look forward to the next game, Gore. On a brighter note, new players will love the mechanics and the gameplay is great. We hope that the future DLC will delve deeper into the story aspect of the game, if and when it comes out. Despite some of these issues, we still would recommend people to check out this game, especially to fans of the series or for fans of VR in general, because of the new innovative way of using VR. We're optimistic, and we hope for future DLCs that won't be too expensive and are able to fix the issues from this game. Right now, Rising from the Grave doesn't come without some aches and pains. Grave is still shaking off the cobwebs and is still trying to find his groove in this new decade.